Ghost of Kyiv, White Ties, and Spring Band. Eastern European Wartime Rumours in Comparative Perspective. This is my BNN lecture. My name is Petr Janecek. I work as Associate Professor at the Charles University in Prague, in Czechia. This lecture will last about 30 or 40 minutes. First of all, sorry for my English. Actually, it's not English. It's very specific language, peculiar language called Chinglish. It's Czech language and English language combined. So I hope you will understand at least parts of it. I have PowerPoint slides, so at least you can read if you don't understand my spoken word. I also do not have very good equipment, so I believe you will be able to hear at least something. Okay, so let's start. My lecture will have following structure. First of all, I will briefly talk about academic, mostly folklore research on wartime rumors and legends. It will be a very short overview of this topic. Second part will be basically the meat of my lecture. I will talk about fabled Privyet Kieva, Ghost of Kyiv, heroic legend of the current Ukrainian conflict. Then I will briefly touch subject of another heroic legend, which is a rather failed media legend about the Ukrainian Reaper. Then I will briefly talk about the legend about the White Tides. I will discuss if there is a comeback of the classic Russian war legend, which we know from former conflict of the Russian Federation in last decades. And finally, there will be short discussion, new legends, old themes, and what we do about with this kind of stories which are spread mostly online today. If we treat them as folkloric texts, or if it's just hoaxes or fake news or disinformation or propaganda. So let's begin. Okay. First of all, let's talk about research on wartime rumors and legends in general. The rumors and legends are connected with armed conflicts since time immemorial. If you look to the classical artistic renditions of Greek and Roman goddesses called Ossa or Feme or Fama, these beings, the supernatural beings, were often connected with war and or personal fame caused by military victories. So there's a great connection or ancient connection between rumors, Fama, and wars. Folklorists became interested in wartime folklore during the Second World War. It's very interesting because most studies about wartime folklore of the Second or the First World War were written immediately during the conflict. E.g., in Austro-Hungarian Empire, in my part of the world, we have several studies which were written in 1940, 1915, 1916. Georg Polivka or Jiří Polivka, he was famous Czech folklorist. He wrote also during the conflict, so it's really connected. It was very topical. It was very current kind of folkloric analysis of wartime folklore. Probably the most important study of First World War folklore is written by Fernand van Langenhove. You can see the title. It has been published in Paris in 1916, and it's not folkloristic analysis. It's more like psychological, let's say, but it's very interesting analysis of rumor cycle about supposed atrocities of Belgian resistance fighters against German soldiers. This very study was also used as propaganda against the Central Powers, against Germany or Austria. During 2 years, it was reprinted several times. It was reprinted in London in 1916, in Madrid in Spain in 1916, in Leiden, and in Zurich in Switzerland. This is very interesting study worth reading even now because it's very topical. It talks a lot about like collective psychology and social psychology and how hostilities can break out because of the legends and supposed threat by the enemy. Probably today, more known is story of Angel of Mons. It's also Belgium. It's story of legendary saver or saving event of British Expeditionary Army in Belgium. We have several analyses, again not folkloric analysis, but psychologists and historians wrote about it. But again, immediately during the war, Polar, Hard, Omen, probably the most exhaustive study is by British folklorist Dr. David Clarke. It's a book called Angel of Mont, which had been published in 2005. This is very similar to what I will be talking in a few minutes. There was big conflict, First World War, and folklorists and psychologists and historians tried to somehow grasp these texts during the conflict. If we talk about modern, more contemporary study of wartime rumors and legends, it started during the Second World War. Again, not many folklorists analyzed these stories at that time. Many of these people were psychologists or psychoanalysts. Probably the most famous name is Marie Bonaparte. She published a very interesting book about myths of war. It has been published in French originally, but in the same year also in English in the US. She discussed many legends, rumors, and stories, not only from Europe, but also from Southern Africa and other parts of the world, which take place during the Second World War. She's also famous as author of studies about what is now called contemporary or urban legends. She famously wrote about the vanishing hitchhiker tale type in the 40s, some studies. More important than psychology was social psychology. Some names like Robert Knapp or Gordon Allport or Leo Postman, they wrote applied studies about rumors. The most famous is probably Psychology of Rumor, 1944. This is still interesting even now. He classifies rumors into three types: pipe dreams, scary stories, or bogies, and wedge drivers, some kind of stories which drive wedges between some social groups, groups of population. They were, for example, anti-Semitic and so on. And so it's still valid even now. We have more modern studies from 70s and 80s, which, and in light of these studies, this Knapp study from 44 still holds true. The same could be told also about Allport. Postman study is actually a book, Psychology of Rumor, which is classic in the study of rumors. If we speak about folklorists or ethnologists, they became more interested in wartime rumors and legends somewhat later, like in the 70s and 80s. And these were very often not analysis of current affairs, but like retrospective analysis, mostly of First World War folklore or Second World War folklore. For example, in Eastern Europe and Soviet Union, there are many studies about Great Patriotic War or Second World War, retrospective analysis, bordering folklore and oral history, some biographic narrations. Since the 80s and especially the 90s, we have many studies, folkloric studies about the lore of the current conflicts. There are too many studies to mention here, so you can find them elsewhere. And now I will proceed to the main part of my lecture. Just warning, attention, what follows is still work in progress. It's not complete today, complete paper, just some brief analysis of what's going on Ukraine now. So let's start. And let's start with the Ghost of Kyiv. Probably you heard of this. It was big on Western media and media all over the world. It's Privit Kyeva in Ukrainian, Ghost of Kyiv, or rather Phantom of Kyiv somehow. This is probably the first legend, or genealogically it's more rumor than legend, of the current Ukrainian conflict, the very first. It appeared during the very first day of the conflict, actually, on Thursday, February 24th. The story first spread on electronic social network, on the internet, mostly on Twitter. It's Twitter story, basically. We can talk about narrative zero. There was 3 short viral videos. I will try to show you one of these videos. 3 short viral videos of single Ukrainian MiG-29, which is called Fulcrum in NATO designation, and this fighter was just flying low over cityscape of Kyiv. Yeah, it's a very short video. I will try to show you one of these videos. Okay, it seems it doesn't work, so you can watch it by yourself. I will I will send you the PowerPoint presentation if you are interested. But it's basically nothing there. It's just a very short video of some plane, unidentified MiG-29 plane flying low over Kyiv cityscape. This legend or this story was at first very dialogic, as Linda Deck could write. Yeah. People were discussing the identity of this pilot, about combat results of this pilot, why he's flying so low over cityscape. Maybe he's evading Russian airplanes, or he's doing some very specific, very brave, outrageous maneuver. Yeah, so it was a discussion mostly first. But after a few hours, mostly on Twitter, in comments, the main motif crystallized. That these videos are videos of single pilot, yes, single pilot who single-handedly shot 6 enemy Russian airplanes during the first day of the war, during the first, let's say, 30 hours of the conflict. So these very ephemeral videos became story, became crystallized into a story, single heroic fighter fighting overwhelming odds of the Russian planes and shooting 6 of them. We can trace the origin of this idea of the 6 Russian airplanes shot down. This idea of 6 enemy planes shot down during the first day of the war came actually from the official statement of the Ukrainian chief of the staff, Valery Zaluzhny, from February 24th, again, the first day of the conflict. Yeah. He just said that Ukrainian armed forces or Ukrainian Air Force shot down 6 Russian airplanes during the first day, but these results were collectively attributed to the acts of the single heroic pilot, this Ghost of Kyiv. So this story became the legend, we can say, which was the result of collective problem solving and wishful thinking. Because most of people in the comments were actually rather skeptical. They didn't say, okay, this plane shot down 6 Russian airplanes. They mostly expressed just wish. We wish we have some hero, or we wish this Ghost of Kyiv being real. It was some kind of make-believe kind of process. What we know, it was mostly internet and social media thing. Currently, we don't have much data about oral tradition. It supposedly existed, but we don't know much about it. But this make-believe process was very, very interesting. It was very dialogic. It was dialogue in the internet. People invented the name, the Ghost of Kyiv, and they just asked questions, and these questions became answers. Okay, he really shot down these 6 airplanes. Very soon, this story became very cleverly, actually, used by the Ukrainian propaganda. Actually, as fast as during the second day of the conflict, during the February 25, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense seized the opportunity to encourage belief in this hero pilot. They tweeted an image of MiG-29 as part of posting, which reported that retired Ukrainian pilots were returning to the country Air Force. And that tweet, you have links there, the tweet in Ukrainian actually said, who knows, maybe one of them is the air avenger of the MiG-29, which is so often seen by the Kyivites. And this was very clever. They didn't say, okay, the Ghost of Kyiv is real. They just say, okay, we have many old, very experienced, skilled, retired pilots. They are coming back. They are using these old MiG-29s, and who knows, maybe one of them is the air avenger of the MiG-29. They even didn't use the name of Ghost of Kyiv, the vernacular name actually. And during the same day, they posted another video of Ghost of Kyiv, which was fighting and downing a Russian airplane. You can Google it if you are interested. And this last video was actually fake. It was YouTube video, which was actually tribute to the legend. It became legend already. The video which you can see on YouTube, it's called Ghost of Kyiv Dogfight, and it was posted during the second day of the conflict on YouTube by a fan of the legend, nicknamed Comrade Korb, probably Russian, and it's digitally altered. It has been completely created in online digital simulator called DCS World. It's simulator of the airplane dogfights. Yeah, so but it was used by propaganda as real footage of Ghost of Kyiv downing a Russian airplane. There were also other later official uses of the legend by the Ukrainian authorities. Not so clever. For example, Ukrainian TV channel 5 Canal, which is owned by former Ukrainian President Petr Poroshenko, posted some news about the coast of Kyiv. Poroshenko himself also later shared a picture of the alleged heroic pilot on the second day of the conflict. It's the picture on the left. So it was used more and more, but by now not official Ukrainian institutions, but mostly by individuals or some commercial media. There are some, you can see some of the pictures which were used as to prove an identity and reality of Ghost of Kyiv. And to sum up, Ghost of Kyiv is very interesting topic actually. It's interesting mix of collective vernacular text, some kind of folklore. You can label it as rumor or legend on the one hand. On the other hand, there was very clever and cautious use of this story by Ukrainian media and Ukrainian army and Ukrainian institution, followed by not so cautious, let's say, propaganda. So it's very, very interesting kind of phenomenon, and it exploded, of course. It became folklorized. Original 6 Russian airplanes down, 6 shots became 11 in 5 days, and much more later. Later, also more pictures and tributes to Ghost of Kyiv appeared online, including Wikipedia pages in several languages, including Czech one. This one, interesting, was created by someone during the very first day of the conflict. And during the first 2 days, the Ghost of Kyiv also became global phenomenon, mostly because of English-speaking media. Their details of the supposed shots appeared. Probably they were created by Spanish sport tabloid Marca, and they have been later copy-pasted by many media worldwide, especially English-speaking media. There were details that the Ghost of Kyiv shot actually 2 Russians Su-35, one Su-27, one MiG-29, and 2 Su-25s. It's not really realistic. Some of these planes were not present in the Ukraine, actually, in the first day of the conflict. And actually, most Western military media could use the luxury of staying out of the conflict, and this became skeptical. If Ghost of Kyiv was real, it would become first European fighter ace after the Second World War, actually. We have to shot down 5 enemy airplanes to become ace. He supposedly shot 6 in the first day of the conflict. If we go to the technical explanation, Ukraine really have this kind of fighter, this kind of airplane, MiG-29. It has 35 or 37 of them, but they were used mostly for training purposes, for education purposes of pilots. Most of them had old equipment, so it will be very unrealistic if this plane shot down some better equipped Russian planes. And if you look to the original video of Ghost of Kyiv, these original viral videos on Twitter, this MiG is unarmed. So he has no rockets. This type of MiG-29 Falcon usually carries 6 rockets, so he had to be successful with each single shot to shot down 6 Russian airplanes. So in technical terms, it's very, very unrealistic. But it's not important for us, and especially not for the Ukrainians living in the conflict. It's very important for boosting morale. It's not just the propaganda. It's important for the collective spirit of the nation. So here you can see some internet art on Pinterest and other media about the Ghost of Kyiv. The first one on the left is the oldest original one. You can see it's very naive, but it's very, very, very nice. There are other pictures. Below you can see the drawing of Ghost of Kyiv saving Ukraine from the Russian invasion. On the left, it's more recent fabrication on Twitter. It's supposed identity of the Ghost of Kyiv. He has a name now. He's Vladimir Abdonov, the Ukrainian pilot who downed 6 Russian jets, and it's fake. Actually, the head of the guy on the picture is some Brazilian lawyer, I believe. Yeah, some lawyer from Brasilia. So it's more, but it's more recent. Yeah, I'm more interested in the more original, more collective, more folkloric pattern of this. This is much later. This was tweeted on February 26th. Yeah, and it wasn't it wasn't really popular in Ukraine or elsewhere. Yeah, it's other attempt to create some fake identity for this pilot. But this, I told that there was not much oral tradition about Ghost of Kyiv documented. Actually, I have one for you. It's not from the Ukraine, sadly, but it's from my country, from Czechia, Czech Republic, and it's actually expat narrative documented by my colleague, Dr. Jindřiška Kracíková. She's head of the Wallenstein Museum in small town of Jičín in Czechia. On March 23, so let's say 1 month, 4 weeks after the start of the conflict and the birth of the Ghost of Kyiv. It's very interesting. It's not saying anything about lore of the Ukrainians in the Ukraine. It's more like expat narrative. So I can read it for you. The respondent or narrator was a man called Pavel, age about 50, of Ukrainian nationality. He hails from the area of southwestern Ukraine, which is called Transcarpathian Oblast, and he has been working in the Czech Republic for a long time, several decades actually, as a construction worker. Yeah, he's a migrant expat worker. The narrative situation was like this. It's quite interesting. Mr. Pavel came to the Wallenstein Museum before noon to look for the owner, who is known among Ukrainian expats in the Jičín region as a philanthropist who willingly lent his boarding house to Ukrainian refugees. Mr. Pavel wanted to ask him for a job because his current employer in town of Hradec Králové calls his employees Ukrainian dicks, which Mr. Pavel no longer wants to suffer. The continuous and fluent conversation gradually turned to the war situation in the Ukraine, when Mr. Pavel suddenly began to talk about the Ghost of Kyiv with enthusiasm and deep enthusiasm. The Ghost of Kyiv is great. It's great. He has already shot down 49 Russian planes himself. The Russians hit him, but he managed to eject, landed safely with a parachute, and went to report to his unit. And there he got a new plane. And Dr. Kracíková asked, so the Kyiv Ghost still flies? Oh yeah, he still flies and continues to shoot down Russian planes. So we can see it's some kind of interpretation of this story by Ukrainian diaspora, by Ukrainian expats in the Czech Republic. He tells with undisguised enthusiasm, completely fascinated that one aviator can shoot down so many Russian planes. He's firmly convinced of the existence of the Ghost of Kyiv, as well as of his constant active struggle, the 24th day of the war in Ukraine. The informant resides in the Czech Republic throughout the war in Ukraine, so his narration most likely illustrates the idea of local Ukrainian expats, not incoming refugees. We have a lot of Ukrainian refugees here in Prague and Czech Republic, mostly women and children, like over 300,000. But we didn't conduct it field work yet on these people. They have other works to do actually. Okay, so Ghost of Kyiv. It's very recent legend, but it has many interesting folkloric historical parallels. The most close is probably the Pippo, yeah, the famous mysterious aircraft of the Second World War in Italy. Italian historian Giovanni De Luna called Pippo the most unsettling aspect of wartime Italy, actually. So it was a big thing. Yeah, it was some kind of mysterious plane with specific sound which flies only during the night. Some people say he's a light plane. Some people say it was a fascist plane. It was popular mostly in the last 3 years of the war in northern Italy. There were legends about the Pippo. There were rumors about the Pippo, even folk songs and children lullabies about the Pippo. The name is kind of mysterious. The Pippo was named probably onomatopoeically after distinctive pip-pip sound of this mysterious plane. or because of the Italian name of the Goofy character by Walt Disney, that the dog, yeah, it's called Pippo. It's not Goofy, it's Pippo in Italy. This legend was probably inspired by specific sound of British plane, the Havian Mosquito, which flew very often during the night as a nighttime bomber or spy plane, and this is probably source of these interesting rumors, which are still remembered in Italy by older generation. Another interesting folkloric parallel, historical parallel of Ghost of Kyiv is Springman. It's from my country, Springman. In Czech we call him Perák or Perový muž. Actually, it's Czech version of international migratory urban legend about Spring-Heel Jack, which was originally British or English character from the Victorian England. This Springman, this mysterious phantom, was most active during the Second World War in Czech urban centers, mostly industrial towns like Prague, Pilsen, Brno, and others. And this Springman was some kind of night avenger. He was jumping on steel springs across rooftops, jumping across trams, across buses, and so on. And he was battling Nazis and collaborators with the Nazis. Yeah, it was some kind. We can label him Ghost of Prague. Yeah. And after the war, this story was very popular. And after the war, it was in literature and popular culture. The Springman was reimagined as some kind of Czech nationalistic hero. Now in comic and similar media in popular culture, the Springman is labeled as first Czech superhero, some kind of combination of Captain America, who was fighting the Nazis, Batman, like nighttime urban avenger of crime, Spider-Man, he's sleeping like a Spider-Man or Superman. But his origin were in oral tradition. Actually, he came from the Victorian England. If you are interested more in this character, I have a short study about the Springman, which was published in Fabula 2 years ago. And also I wrote a book about the Springman, which will be published in the US in English edition later this year. It deals not only with the Springman in Czech lands, but also with the German versions of the Springman, Gipfelmännchen and Spiralhopsen, Russian versions of the Springman. They were active during the Second World War, but also during the Russian Revolution, Bolshevik Revolution in 20s, English version, US version, and Slovakian versions. I can show you some pictures. It's from contemporary Czech comic and popular culture about the Springman. He's battling the Nazis in Prague and escaping them. He's jumping on the steel spring across the Prague, like a ghost of Prague. The picture on the left is actually the supposed cover of my English book about the Springman, which will be published this year. And on the right, you can see it's from the Russian Museum of Militia of Police in St. Petersburg, and it's actually model of this Russian Springman, Papriguchiki of the 20s. So everything is in my book actually. Okay. So let's talk about the second legend. We talk about the Ghost of Kyiv. Let's talk about the second legend, the Ukrainian Reaper. Actually, it's later legend. It's more fabricated or more fake legend, which somehow tried to capitalize on success of the Ghost of Kyiv. Yeah, it wasn't so popular. It was popularized in English-speaking media, mostly again by Spanish tabloid Marca since February 26, and it has no really strong narrative core. It's mostly just a rumor about some anonymous Ukrainian soldier who single-handedly killed 20 Russian soldiers in just 2 days. Usually, this story is accompanied by the picture below. Some kind of Ukrainian soldier with his eyes covered. Yeah. But you can feel the aura of mystery is missing here. So it's not, maybe that's the reason it never became really popular. Sometimes, actually very often, this soldier is depicted as a sniper, sniping Russians. Sometimes he has a name, Volodymyr Vist, again in tabloid and this kind of media, but it's not really popular. Actually, this legend is a kind of failed legend compared to Ghost of Kyiv, and in its structure, it's very similar to legend of Juba or Joba. It was legendary sniper of Iraq resistance against US armed forces during Iraq insurrection of 25 or 26. This is some pictures, more recent pictures of Ukrainian Reaper. You can see even the Lego character of this Ukrainian Reaper. But again, it's more like a fake legend. It's not so popular as Ghost of Kyiv for obvious reasons. And let's talk about the Juba. It's kind of template for Ukrainian Reaper. It was legendary folk hero, sniper Iraq resistance against US armed forces. Mostly, this legend was propagated mostly by the so-called Islamic Army of Iraq. He supposedly killed at least 37 of US soldiers. This was similar to the Ghost of Kyiv. It was based on videos. It was very short, low quality videos. Ghost of Kyiv is Twitter legend. This Juba was YouTube legend. Or you can buy DVD in Baghdad, other Iraqi towns with very low quality videos. There are mostly 3 videos of this Juba or Java popular. And it's very similar template which Ukrainian Reaper tries to capitalize on. Actually, this Juba character inspired fictitious character of Mustafa in famous movie American Sniper, directed by Clint Eastwood. You can see picture from this movie below, and you can see some even comic about the Juba. He was some kind of violin player, but his family was killed by the US bombing, American air attack, so he switched his violin for a rifle, for a Dragunov sniper rifle. There are some comic, actually, I believe made in the West, about this famous, let's say, Iraqi or Baghdad Reaper, which became more popular than Ukrainian Reaper now. And finally, the third legend, White Tides. White Tides in Russian Belie Kolgotki or Belie Chulki. We can translate it in English as white pantyhose or white stocking. This is very famous Russian wartime rumor and contemporary urban legend, which is actually quite old. It appeared first in the 80s. It's a story about fictitious elite unit of blonde snipers, blonde female snipers, which hail either from the Baltics, from the Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. This is the original version, or the Ukraine, or the Western Europe, in later versions. And this story reportedly emerged during every war with Russian involvement in the last few decades, from First and Second War in Chechnya, through the conflicts in Nagorno-Karabakh, in Transnistria, Abkhazia, Georgia in 2008, and most recently in eastern Ukraine, in Donbas region. Who are the White Tides? The White Tides are allegedly former female biathlon team from Baltic states or Ukraine or West that volunteered for the war. Why? They volunteered because they hate everything Russian. They hate Russians. So they volunteer, they have skills, and these stories have 2 symbolical meanings. On the one hand, they try to legitimize the war conflict caused by the Russian Federation, and there's other more internal meaning. These negative heroines of these stories combine 2 Russian stereotypes. One stereotype of the witch, which is very evil, but also it could be very attractive and very symbolically powerful woman like Baba Yaga. She can be also young and attractive, but she's also evil, or at least liminal kind of being. So this is one stereotype. The second stereotype is Western fascist. It's very open label fascist, but on the core is some kind of visualization of blue-eyed, blonde Nordic aggressor of the Second World War. And these women are also blondes, but not the dumb blondes of the joke cycle, but very dangerous snipers, actually hating everything Russian, and especially hating Russian males. And this is very Freudian, psychoanalytical motifs there, because the popularity of these stories is supported by castration motifs. These insidious white tides are said to interfere with men, to shot them exclusive in the crotch, and this symbolically, but also realistically destroy Russia effort to defend against enemies. Yeah, so they stop the procreation of Russian men and population, and it's also a very insidious tactic. Actually, we don't have many reports about the white tides appearing now in the Ukraine. We had some in Donbass in last 8 years. Now we have some Twitter and Kontakte, which is basically Russian Facebook posts, but the white tides are just waiting for appear. I'm almost sure they appeared in military lore, oral tradition of the Russian armed forces, but we don't have many contacts here now with these people. So maybe later we will know more about the white tides in Ukraine. But I'm sure they will return, because they return every time, actually, since the war in Afghanistan in the 80s. And some pictures. This is on the left. You can see white tides training in Baltics or somewhere in Europe as biathlon sportsmen, and on the right it's fighting in somewhere with Russian soldiers. There are a lot of art about Bělé čulky or Bělé kolgotky, white tides in the internet. There are some very nice ones posted mostly by Russian artists, so it's a kind of popular culture even now. There are a lot more about these white tides. Yeah. Okay, so let's conclude. We can say that during contemporary armed conflict in Ukraine, we can see many news which contain folkloric themes and folkloric motifs. Many of them are actually not new, but are interpretations of older themes and motifs, or even tale types, which we can find in previous armed conflicts. And some of them could be possibly even genealogically classified as legends, contemporary legends, or urban legends, or rumors. We can see emergence or re-emergence of many folkloric texts and practices, and we can see legends in the making. And this situation actually poses many interesting questions which can be labeled as heuristic, epistemological, and methodological. For example, how to conceptualize differences between folklore or phenomena which we call folklore, like legends and rumors, and phenomena which are labeled by journalists and politicians as hoaxes, fake news, disinformation, and propaganda. Yeah. There are clearly ties. We could see it in Ghost of Kyiv and Ukraine Reaper. They are intertwined, folklore and propaganda, disinformation, and it's very interesting to watch it now unfold during this sad Ukrainian conflict, which will hopefully end very soon. Okay, if you want more information, including literature, bibliography, papers I cited, I'm preparing study based on my lecture, which will be published hopefully this year, either in Fabula or Journal of Folklore and Popular Culture, which is Polish journal originally called Literatura Ludowa. So I hope there will be more information when this conflict, this sad conflict ends, and I hope it will. I believe we all hope that this unfortunate war will end soon. Okay, that's it. Thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward for your question, comment, critique, and so on during the discussion.